I love everything that they experience. I want to be part of it. And I've now taught 8 children to read. And we've reached the point in our family where, you know, the next guy comes along and you hear him read his first complete sentence. You hear this wave going across the house. This applause, and everybody stands up and gives him an ovation. And you know, it's not just me, we're all a part of it. And we can cheer and champion each other and encourage each other with the struggles and cheer with the successes. And I would not trade that for anything. I think that is truly one of the best gifts of homeschooling.
As I was learning to teach my children and developing my own values, or I would say my own values became, not just that they became stronger, it's just, it drew me back to a relationship with the Lord, to where I wanted to walk in a way that was pleasing to Him. And a part of that was the responsibility I had with my own children. For my son, who is my oldest, and as it turns out, he isn't a ditch digger. He is successful in the work world, and my daughters also. But right, that was where I was coming from on it. That they would be people of character, and we've seen the fruit of that.
They always had the opportunity to stop and address a deeper issue, a deeper character issue, that opportunity is not given in a public system where they see their role simply is academics. And my parents obviously knew their role was spiritual as well as moral, to constantly grow me in those realms as well.
You always wish that you could go back and redo things. You always wish that you'd been able to be, say, in our case, more organized, more consistent. You kind of might look back and say, I could have used that time a little bit better. But one of the great things about having adult children, which I do, is that a lot of the stuff that you thought was really important when they were younger, in the big picture of who they became as adults, isn't really all that important. Whether you finish the algebra book, you know, by the end of May or not, is really inconsequential in the big picture of who they are now as adults in the world, working, living, having their own families. The character issues are far more significant.
Of course, there's always going to be times where siblings don't get along with one another. But ultimately, I mean, this is the family. We do fun things together. We spend our time together because we love each other. And so it's not a time of animosity. And the fact that the public school has kids that don't get along because they're different ages, I think is completely irrelevant to what we're called to be before God.
You know, they say that, what is it? We are like the 5 people we spend most time with. When a child spends 80% of their time in a group of peers their same age, that becomes their mindset and their paradigm. And when we live outside of that and we spend our time with our family, with our siblings, with our parents, then our siblings become our friends and our parents become the people whose counsel we seek.
Thankfully, it changes your life so much. Your children become better people. They become servants to each other.
It transforms your family and makes you a better family. And so I'm okay with people now who are saying, well, I'm kind of homeschooling by default. I don't want the other options. You'll be a better person 5 years from now.
People may not come into homeschooling with this grandiose vision for the family and for the future generations. But I truly believe, and I have seen repeatedly, that they can develop that vision. They can realize the potential that this lifestyle has, not just for teaching their child, but for their entire family and for future generations. And to me, the veteran homeschoolers, that's our calling and that's our responsibility, is to help pass on that vision. You know, we went before and we fought to make homeschooling legal and to make it simple. But what now we want to share with you is that it's so much bigger and better than that.
So I do think that the relationships with my siblings were stronger because we were on the same level of learning the same topic. even though my older sister was learning a topic at a higher level than I was, we were still studying the same subject. And then with my parents, I think that they also were learning with us, and they made that very clear.
I mean, one of the great things, I think if we got nothing else out of homeschooling but having our kids together, I think that's worth it. I mean, that is so cool to see my 18-year-old son playing Candyland with his 6-year-old sister, or to see, your 16-year-old son playing Lego with, your 5-year-old son. Would he rather do something else? Yeah, but he does it. And, when I was in school, I didn't even talk to my younger brothers who were 2 years under me because, hey, I had my own friends, I had my own life, and I didn't want them involved.
Schooling isn't something that passes or fails. It's a day-by-day effort. And so if we keep working at it, it's going to work. And so, I could say my diet failed, but that had to do with what I chose to eat. So it can't just fail in a way that maybe a public school system could fail because you have so many people involved and a whole system involved. So a public school could possibly fail a particular child, whereas homeschooling is built around that child. So on a particular day, it may go bad. A particular lesson or a particular curriculum may not work for this parent, teacher, or for this child. And so in homeschooling, you make the change and make it work.
I've never seen it not work because of the way someone decided to train their kids. Now there are some, they'll say, they just escaped the system. Their kids were in trouble, so they just pulled them out and then they do nothing. That may happen. That's not homeschooling. That's truancy or something like that. But any parent who really feels like God would have them homeschool, I've only started to see it turn out good.